Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Star Trek Picard Season 3, episode number 6. This is the most Star Trek of all Star Trek Picard episodes so far. This season, Season 3, has been absolutely excellent. It's very Star Trek in its own, but this one is the most Star Trek of all. And I would also go to say, if you include all the seasons of 4 seasons of Discovery, this episode is still the most Star Trekian, that's a new word, of all the episodes so far. I won't count Strange New Worlds, which is the third live action series that has come new. And of course, Prodigy and Lower Decks are very Star Trek in its themes and executions. But of the two major live action series, which is going to end, Picard ends with season 3 this year, and I think Discovery's season 5 is the last season, and it will end next year. It will air next year and will end next year as well. This is the most Star Trek of everything. This is what we wanted with Star Trek Picard when it was announced. Compared to season 1 and season 2, this is what we absolutely want. And no coincidence, we have the team together on the screen for the first time in a long time. So Raffi and Worf, they joined with Picard, Riker, Seven, Shaw, Jack, Beverly on the USS Titan. A wonderful reunion. The scene between Beverly and Worf he is so uncomfortable. He's not a hugger, but she's Beverly. She's the doctor. To hell with it. She's going to get her hug in, and much to his awkwardness, but still. And there's also this sort of another awkward reunion between Raffi and Seven. Apparently they have broken up. They are no longer a couple. I wonder what happened. Is it just for the show's sake? I don't know. But to be honest, Raffi's my least favorite of the characters. She's one of my least favorite characters of Star Trek. But there are a couple of them, 3-4 of them, main characters in Discovery we do not like at all. So yeah, Raffi, at least you're better than them. But not really one of my favorites. And then you also have Geordi LaForge with with LeVar Burton's actual daughter playing one of his other daughters, joining the bridge later because they go to the Daystrom station first, where Worf, Raffi, and Riker beam down to try and infiltrate and find the AI that is protecting the security of the station. They are discovered, so the ship has got to leave. They leave and go to what is that place? They go to my goodness. They go to the Museum of Starships, which is a huge space station, the Mushroom Space Station, space dock that you've seen, with several key icons of starships. Which we all love, by the way, housed over there on display. And it is headed by Commodore Geordi LaForge. So he and his daughter beam up. He is none too pleased. He doesn't like the fact that Picard is brought into his doorsteps. He knows that they're in for treats, and of course he trusts them, but at the same time, them coming there has uprooted his peaceful existence. He doesn't want the fight to come to them, to his place. So the reunion is a little bit chilly on Geordi LaForge's side. He does greet Beverly. He loves to see Worf, but to Picard and Riker, he's got a little bit of a cold standoffish appearance, because he knows they're the ones who did this to the Titan and took it under false pretenses to the area near the neutral zone. And yeah, so he takes a lot of convincing to do. Meanwhile, on the station, Riker was not there at that time. Meanwhile, on the station, all right, and he also has got a cold greeting towards his daughter, Crash LaForge, because she decided to become a pilot instead of an engineer like him, and she decided to go off on a spaceship rather than probably work under safer conditions under his command, like his sister, like her sister did, and she seems to be the more mature, cool person trying to keep the peace between her family, her sister and her father. That's wonderful to see. Actually, it's played by the real life daughter of Jodie LaForge. I'm trying to find the names. I wish I'd prepared it in advance. So let's have a quick look. Star Trek, Picard, season 3. The actress's name, I wish I could get it, is Micah Burton. She plays Alandra LaForge, and of course, what's her name? Ashley Sharp Chestnut plays Sydney LaForge, the other sister. So I think she's the younger sister, perhaps. She's still an ensign, whereas Micah, I think, is a lieutenant at this point. So on the station, wonderful scenes. The three of them infiltrate, and they find that they see a vision of the AI Moriarty. Now we've already seen it from the trailers, but good God, it's actually wonderful to see the way the actor says greetings. I just love the way he said it. Greetings, old friends. Of course, the character of Moriarty is played by Daniel Davis, Professor Moriarty, in the 2 episodes on TNG. I wish they'd actually showed him a lot more, or maybe he appeared in something else. But I just realized that the actor, Daniel Davis, is the same guy who plays the butler in The Nanny. Now, I've never really watched The Nanny. I'm aware of it. I love the actress Fran Drescher. But I don't think The Nanny's been showed that much on Indian cable TV, and I haven't picked it up since then. But yeah, Daniel Davis is a really fun addition. But he's only in it for like a minute or so. We get a callback, and my goodness, this callback goes all the way to the very first TNG episode, which there is a music piece, the chords being played, and in order to get them from safety of the Moriarty hologram, Riker has to remember his first meeting with Data and whistle "Pop Goes the Weasel," that tone, because that's there in the very first episode of TNG. The nostalgia. But there is an even bigger nostalgic moment, and I'm going to save that for last. Alright? So they get in and they find an aging Brent Spiner, because it is, how to put it, what is that? It's basically a golem that sorry, I was getting a loss for words and I had to stop over there. But basically, this golem is a flesh and blood synth, much like how Picard is, and in it, it is actually in the shape of Data, because this was created by Brent Spiner's character in the first season of Sung. I forgot the first name of Sung. It is who is a descendant of the Sung who created Data, and he initially planned to use Picard's golem, which he graciously donated to Picard when Picard was dying, or Picard was dead, but he himself died later before he could continue his work on this particular golem. And it's, like I said, it's flesh and blood synth, much like Picard, but it is an amalgamation of the versions that we have known of the android, like Lal, daughter of Data, B4, who was the first prototype, Lore, who was the next prototype and the evil one, and basically the original version of the android, and of course Data himself. So it's a mix of everything, and it is the one that's powering the Daystrom station. So they want to beam the android Data back to the ship, and then they are attacked by Starfleet members. Riker goes and engages them so that he can let the others beam up, but before he can be beamed out, he is shot and he's tranquilized basically by some of them. Unfortunately, it turns out that one of them is Vatic in disguise. How the heck did she get on the ship? I don't know. But she takes him and has him put prisoner on the strike, and she's going to torture him. And he says, "You can do whatever you want, but 31 years I've been in, I've been doing this, so I'm hardly going to give up the location of Picard and the others." And she says, "No, I'm pretty sure it's not for you that you would do it, but for this person." And she has actually captured Deanna Troi. So I suppose she had somebody, or maybe she herself changed herself to look like a a Starfleet officer, and managed to get Deanna onto the ship, and she's held prisoner as well along with Riker. What's going to happen to them? We don't know. We have to wait for the next episode. On the ship, meanwhile, basically while Picard and Geordi are having a chat, oh yeah, forgot to mention this, but Liam Shaw, he's been much of a dick and an asshole to Riker and Picard in particular, and even Jack Crusher. But okay, to Riker and Picard, who are legends, he has been a dick. However, he becomes a fangirl when he sees LaForge, because he is an engineer after all, and Geordi is one of the most prominent engineers ever in Starfleet. So he basically like to shake your hand, and he, the tough, badass captain, the jerk, suddenly becomes a fangirl. Well, it was a kind of expected. It was actually lovely to see that, and Geordi LaForge is not having any flip, to be honest. He is finally convinced to join their plans by Alandra, because even though he and Sydney have, they are at loggerheads, they're pretty much estranged. Alandra managed to convince him, and then Jack Crusher gets an idea with the help of Seven, who's been giving him a tour of the ships, and that's what I want to talk about later. He gets his idea. So among the I'll talk about the ships later, but among the ships there is the Klingon bird of prey, which has a cloak, which you had seen in the movie Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, and then Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, which ended up at the bottom of the ocean near San Francisco Bay. At the end of Voyage Home, that has been since taken up because the cloak got activated. They couldn't find it for a while, but they eventually did find it much later, and it's now also in the museum, which is the HMS Bounty. And one second. And Jack, on knowing that it has a working cloak, he tells them that we can steal the cloak and then use it to our advantage when they go back to the Daystrom station and beam the others up before the rest of the two ships, the Starfleet ships, are there to apprehend or attack them. So they do that, and that's how they get the other three in, but they could not get Riker, and they had to leave. So that's it. Okay, now here's a point that I want to say. There's also this seemingly a little romance possibly getting kindled in the show between Jack Crusher and Sydney, and LaForge basically tells him, stay away from my daughter. And I was thinking of a lot of other shows like that. But what I also want to say, my favorite part of the entire episode, the entire season, entire Picard has been when Jack Crusher gets onto the bridge, and he sits on the captain's chair. Initially, Seven says up, and he says, "No, I'm just sitting. I'm just trying it out." And then she's showing him the ships. So we see a Connie, a refit Enterprise A from the movies, Kirk's Enterprise. You also see the Defiant, beautiful ship, and the theme from Deep Space Nine plays around that. And you also get to see USS Voyager, and the nostalgia that hit me as much as it hit Seven of Nine's character. I don't know how much Jerry Ryan was acting, probably, she also does feel something similar. But while the music is playing, you see this look on Jerry Ryan's face, Seven of Nine's face, and she says, "This was my home. I was reborn here. The ship made it all the way back, furthest into the galaxy than anybody else, and lived to come back. And this was my family." And I cried. I cried like only a true Trekkie can cry. If you're a fan of USS Voyager, oh sorry, if you're a fan of Star Trek Voyager, and you saw that scene and you heard what Seven was saying, if you did not cry, you are not a true fan. At least you're not a true fan of Star Trek Voyager. You might be a fan of the other shows, but you haven't been a fan of Voyager. I loved it. It was sad and it was beautiful at the same time. I rewatched it the next day while trying to, on Saturday. I watched this basically on Friday night. Saturday I watched it and I was crying again. Jesus Christ. This season is making me feel all the, the good feelings and as well as nostalgic feelings. That's wonderful. I love Star Trek. If you don't know it by now. But yeah, that was my favorite part of the episode. That's my favorite part of the entire show so far. I've been sharing that video wherever I could because I love it. This episode gets a 9.5 out of 10 from me. It's a wonderful episode. Thank you. Good night. Oops, forgot to mention that what they did steal from the Daystrom Institute, or was stolen from the Daystrom Institute by Vanek and her people, who now have got Riker and Deanna, was actually, among many things that were there, they stole the dead body of Captain Picard, which is kept in kind of like a I don't know if it's a cryonic stage or something. And why they want this body, we don't know. But we also see that they have got other things, including the what looks like the remains of Captain Kirk as well. So what could they possibly want? And what is troubling Jack Crusher? I do not know. We have to wait for the end of the show to actually find out. Now at this time, it's good night for now.